Yellow River is known as the cradle of the Chinese civilization. It sustains and nurtures the nation, yet at times it has brought great suffering to its people.
The Yellow River is a river of contrasts. It contains both great agricultural abundance as well as impoverishment. It has been the location of moments of splendor as well as humiliation in Chinese history.
The Yellow River is the second largest river in China. It originates in the Yue-Gu-Zhonglie Basin in the northern foothills of the Qinghai Tibetan Plateau and flows from west to east across the Loess Plateau and the North China Plain. It passes through the 9 provinces of Qinghai, Sichuan, Gansu, Ningxia, Inner Mongolia, Shanxi, Shaanxi, Henan, and Shandong, before finally emptying into the Bohai Sea in Kunli County in Shandong Province, for a total distance of 5,464 kilometers.
The river has 3 reaches. The upper reach begins at the headwaters and ends above Hekojen in Inner Mongolia, while the middle reach extends from Hekojen to Tahuayu near Zhengzhou. The lower reach stretches from Tahuayu to the Bohai Sea.
The entire area covered by the basin is vast, measuring 795,000 square kilometers. Viewed from above, the river resembles a majestic lion facing the east.
As the heartland of China, the Yellow River is revered for its historical significance, but also for the way it has helped to mold and shape the Chinese character as the people have interacted with the river over the centuries.
This area has witnessed over 5,000 years of Chinese history. During this period, several dynasties, from the Yinshang to the northern Sung, founded capitals along the river at cities such as Xi'an, Kaifeng, and Luoyang. The fruits of ancient Chinese civilization have been a rich legacy of scientific achievements, as well as an even richer cultural heritage that is known around the world. For thousands of years, the Yellow River Basin has been a political, economic, and cultural center.
The Yellow River is unique. It flows through the world's largest Loess Plateau. Soil erosion is severe. The amount of sediment entering the Yellow River averages as much as 1.6 billion tons a year. If the total amount of sediment were used to build a wall 1 meter high and 1 meter wide, it would circle the earth 27 times. Nearly 1/4 of the sediment deposits in the lower reach. This high amount of sediment has made managing the river complicated and difficult.
The sediment deposited in the lower reach increases the height of the riverbed. Over the centuries, the building of dikes to keep the river in its course has resulted in a river that is higher than the surrounding land, to form an elevated river.
History is replete with the disasters brought down on the residents of the Yellow River Basin by the river. Indeed, the river is often called China's sorrow. According to historical records, over a span of 2,500 years, from 602 BC to 1938 AD, there were 1,590 dike breaches and 26 changes in the course of the river. Floods have covered 250,000 square kilometers, from as far away as Tianjin in the north to the Yangtze River and the Hui River in the south. Drought has also befallen the region many times, with equally dire results.
The city of Kaifeng, the former capital of 7 different dynasties, has been flooded at least 6 times and was once buried under 9 meters of sediment. In 1938, the Kuomintang, under orders from Chiang Kai-shek, destroyed the dike along the river at Huayuankou, near Zhengzhou, in an attempt to stop the western advance of the Japanese. This atrocity caused flooding over 3 provinces, uprooted over 12 million people, and resulted in almost 900,000 deaths.
Every dynasty bemoaned its inadequacy at taming the river, and the local people felt helpless in the face of the river's power. For hundreds of years, management of the Yellow River has been considered a key issue for national development and for social stability.
Since 1946, the management of the river by the people has given the river a new life. State and party leaders have all visited the Yellow River and made numerous decisions about its administration. As early as 1955, the second session of the First National People's Congress passed a resolution to find permanent solutions to controlling flooding and adopted a comprehensive management plan for developing the resources of the river. After a half-century of struggle, the people have made great progress in managing the river and have achieved many outstanding results.
The most important task of managing the Yellow River is to ensure public safety during flooding. At present, the lower Yellow River has formed a preliminary flood control engineering system for retaining upstream flow, controlling release of downstream flows, and containing floodwaters on both banks of the river. Water control projects on the upper reach include the San Mansha project on the main stem, and the Luhun and Guxian reservoirs on tributaries, as well as the Xiaolongdi project currently under construction. They form a comprehensive system for retaining floodwaters and reducing flood peaks.
Much work goes into maintaining dikes and levees. Since 1949, over 1,400 kilometers of embankments have been elevated and widened 3 times to protect surrounding farmland and cities. Containment basins have been built at Beijingdi and Dongping lakes to handle abnormal floods. These projects have become key elements in protecting the province of Shandong, where the river is especially narrow.
Strengthening non-engineering measures, such as the civil defense system, has been important in order to increase flood preparedness capability along the lower reach of the river. Also, modern hydrology and communication facilities have formed an essential link in flood control regulation by rapidly transmitting information on precipitation, runoff, and the status of engineering projects.
Since 1949, the Yellow River Conservancy Commission has been responsible for managing and developing the Yellow River Basin. Over 38,000 staff members with strong backgrounds in science and technology have dedicated themselves to work on the river and have made invaluable contributions.
Great success has been achieved during the last 52 years in guaranteeing the safety of dikes during flood periods. This has contributed to the smooth transformation of the country during socialist reconstruction and has allowed marvels to be accomplished in controlling the river. The direct economic benefit of flood control and hazard reduction has been close to $50 billion US.
In the past, the river regularly breached dikes at least 2 times every 3 years and shifted its course at least once a century, wreaking widespread havoc on northern China. The flood of record occurred in 1958, when peak discharge reached 22,300 cubic meters per second. Over 2 million soldiers and civilians, working day and night to keep the river within its banks, were able to prevent history from repeating itself. Fortunately, this period is over thanks to modern efforts at harnessing and controlling the river.
Despite perennial flooding, the Yellow River is the only source of surface water in the arid northwest and north-central China. Consequently, the river has become a strategic resource in the economic and social development of these regions.
The Yellow River Basin has a long history of irrigated agriculture, but comprehensive development of water resources did not truly begin until 1949. There are currently 3,147 large, medium, and small-sized reservoirs with a total capacity of 57.4 billion cubic meters, as well as 4,600 diversion projects, 29,000 pumping stations. The result has been an increase in water use of 53%. Since 1949, agricultural production along both banks of the lower reach has expanded eightfold. Irrigated farmland has increased to over 7.3 million hectares, with many areas becoming important bases for grain and cotton production.
The water resources of the Yellow River are not abundant. With only 2% of the total water volume in the country, the river must irrigate 15% of the cultivated acreage and provide for 11% of the population, as well as for large numbers of industries. The river is also the source for several water transfers over long distances to Qingdao, Jinan, Hebei, and other places experiencing severe water shortage. In the past, only the area located on the Great Bend in the river, known as the Hetao Plain, was agriculturally productive. Nowadays, agriculture flourishes throughout the basin.
The Yellow River has great hydropower resources on the upper and middle reaches. Since the founding of the People's Republic of China, development has been centered on establishing an important hydropower base in the upper reach. Currently, there are 9 large and medium-sized multi-purpose projects and power plants on the main stream of the Yellow River at Longyangsha, Liujiaxia, Yanguoxia, Bapanxia, Daxia, Qingtongsha, Sanshengong, Tianqiao, and Sunmenxia. The total installed capacity is 4.04 megawatts, 25 times the amount available in 1949, and an average annual power output of 19 billion kilowatt hours, 4.5 times the amount available in 1949. 3 projects currently under construction are Lijiaxia, Wanjiazhai, and Xiaolangdi, and will raise total installed capacity to 4.88 megawatts and annual power generation to 14.5 billion kilowatt hours.
Soil erosion in the Loess Plateau has been the chief cause of the Yellow River's frequent flooding and changes in course throughout history. A great deal of the development of the Yellow River has focused on soil conservation work in the plateau to reconstruct its environment. During the past 50 years, the central government has established scientific research institutes and mobilized the public in a long-term campaign to reduce soil loss in the 454,000 square kilometer region. A total of 166,000 square kilometers, or 36.6% of the total area, has been brought under control and has reduced the annual amount of sediment going into the Yellow River by 300 million tons. Investment on the Loess Plateau has increased, and soil conservation efforts have been strengthened since the publication of General Secretary Jiang Zemin's 1997 Recreating Beautiful Rivers and Mountains in the Northwest. Because of these soil conservation efforts, the ecology of the Loess Plateau has gradually improved, and 80% of the residents can now provide for their basic needs.
Since the founding of the People's Republic of China 50 years ago, greater social, economic, and ecological benefits have been achieved from developing the river than during any other period in China's history. The shifting of the economic center from east to west gives the Yellow River an essential role in the development of western and northwestern China. Important intercontinental trade routes pass through the Yellow River Basin, thus making management of the river instrumental for sustainable economic development in the 21st century.
The Yellow River Basin is rich in mineral resources and has huge potential for productivity. Water, coal, petroleum, natural gas, and hydropower, all critical economic resources, are abundant and have helped the area earn the name China's Energy Basin. Land is plentiful, and there is great potential for increases in agricultural productivity.
The lower reach of the basin in the North China Plain has a high population density. The many major cities and dense transportation and telecommunication networks in the region make it the center of China. It is easy to see that floods along this part of the river, as well as the Huai River, have the potential to set back not only the economic and social development of the basin, but of the entire nation.
The Yellow River is probably the most complex and difficult river to manage in the world, and it will continue to face many strong challenges in the 21st century. Floodwater and sediment deposits in the lower reach of the river still need to be adequately controlled. The heavy deposits in the lower reach limit the ability to discharge floodwaters and continue to elevate the riverbed.
Rapid economic development has brought the conflict between water supply and water demand into sharper relief, and has focused attention on the conflict. The increasing frequency of the river drying up in the lower reach at various times throughout the year has become a subject of great concern to the entire basin. Soil conservation efforts are slow and have not had to follow high standards.
Water pollution is severe. The Yellow River ranks second in pollution among the 7 major rivers in China, and its environmental problems are worsening. The ecological development of the river has not found a balance between economic growth and environmental conservancy.
Coordination of population, resources, economics, and social policies is greatly lacking. However, the staff of the Yellow River Conservancy Commission have proposed many new measures and policies based on extensive past experience and scientific research.
In 1997, the State Planning Commission and the Ministry of Water Resources approved the publication of the Guide to Improvement and Development of the Yellow River. The plan outlines flood control measures, including the implementation of a 3-part strategy to hold water upstream, release water downstream, and contain floodwater in retention zones. Other measures involve the control and removal of sediment. The long-term safety of the river will improve as these measures are put into place.
Continued development of the Yellow River and its resources will depend on exploiting new sources of water as well as conservation of water. It will also depend on strengthening management in many ways, such as promoting comprehensive management of all parts of the river, building regulatory systems for the main river, construction of the North-South Water Transfer Project, enforcement of environmental standards, and efficient water allocation. The overall impact of these measures will promote water conservation across society and benefit everyone.
Soil and water conservation on the Loess Plateau will be based on individual watersheds, with an emphasis on very sandy and coarse sand areas. Improvements in engineering, ecology, and tilling practices should be implemented jointly. If these control measures are put into place, the entire area should come under control by the year 2030. By 2050, the environment of the region should be adequately restored and the amount of sediment going into the Yellow River cut in half.
Management and development of the Yellow River has a long way to go. With time and great effort, the problems of the river will be eliminated. The river continues to hold a sacred place in the hearts of the Chinese people. For countless generations, the river has been the lifeblood of the region. All agree that developing the river is essential to the prosperity and happiness of not only the inhabitants of the river, but of the entire country. The Chinese people will work with unfaltering dedication to bring out the full potential of the river.
Thank you.